Stephen Moore is Donald Trump's economic advisor and a distinguished visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. He's got a book called Trumponomics. Trumponomics. You got to check this book out on Amazon, please, or you Google Steve Moore or Trumponomics Inside the America First Plan to Revive Our Economy. Steve, welcome back to the show, brother. I'm so sorry about the traffic. I'm sorry about the traffic today, man. I know you got.
Oh my gosh. I love Manhattan, except I don't like the traffic, I got to say. But I'm here for this is the best time of the year to be in New York, isn't it? With all the Christmas decorations, and I'm psyched for the Macy's parade and all this. So it's going to be a great week in the great city of New York.
But when you keep electing progressive socialists as mayors and governors, this is what happens. They can't run, Steve. They can't run the town. We were just talking about it with Mike Gallagher. So we apologize. Steve, where are you from originally, man? I should know this.
I'm from the second city. I'm from Chicago.
Oh, great town.
I grew up hating the Mets. I hate to tell you that.
That's okay. Hey, listen, the Cubs finally had success, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, we finally won one. After a century, we finally won a World Series.
Steve, you've done such a great job with the president.
By the way, I remember.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you remember the.
Please.
Do you remember the 1969 Mets?
Yeah, of course. Everybody, legendary.
The Miracle Mets.
Yep.
Well, that was the Cubs that they beat. Yeah. We were in first place all year long, and then the Mets took us over and won the World Series. So ever since then, I hate to tell you, Joe, I did the Mets.
All right, that's all right, man. I'm a Yankees.
Forgiving you guys for that.
But I love, we just love baseball. We had the Red Sox at the Rolling Gold Glove Awards on Friday, Steve, last couple of weeks ago, and last week actually, and it was great. I saw Jim Rice. I saw all the Fred Lynn was there, and I'm a Yankee fan, but it's all about baseball, baby. In my mind, I'm a huge baseball fan.
Great game.
So, Steve,
have you ever been to Wrigley Field, my friend?
I'm embarrassed to tell you, I've not been to two places. Steve Moore, are you ready?
Gosh,
I know. Listen,
that's like one of the great landmarks in America.
I know. And all my friends in Chicago, I've not been to Fenway. I know. God forgive me.
Come on, you got to get outside the city, my friend.
I have to go to the confession.
Next time you're in Chicago, you let me know, and the two of us will sit in the bleachers in Wrigley Field. All right?
I love. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned.
Experience.
I am so down with that. My gosh, I'm always at the stadium, but I got to go to Wrigley and I got to go to Fenway. Hey, so Steve, you're doing such a great job with this Trumponomics. The economy's doing great. Can everybody just calm down? Can everybody just embrace this? Exactly, because the best is yet to come, Steve Moore, is it not?
It sure is. It's funny. Last night I was in town because I've been doing some promotion of the book, and I spoke at the Harvard Club, and there were probably about 100 people who came to this, and there were a couple of people during the Q&A that came up, and these were millennials, young people, and this one woman, she was literally shaking. Joe, she was shaking with anger and rage, and I hate Donald Trump. He's a horrible American, blah, 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 blah. I said, well, what is it that he's done that you don't like, because we got this booming economy. I said, I was very nice to her. I said, I could tell she just had this inner rage. I said, and she said, I don't know. It's just, I hate the guy. He hates him, and I'm like, he's not evil. He's created more jobs than any president in modern history. We got the lowest unemployment rate. We got the economy booming right now. We got 7 million more jobs than we have businesses. I said, what don't you like about this picture? But sometimes these anti-Trump people, have you noticed this, Joe? They're just irrational. Yeah. They're deranged.
And they're longtime friends, a lot of them. And they come up and they've been very, very liberal Democrats for years and years. And how I feel coming from the Democratic Party that I was a lifelong Democrat for years and years, for most of my life, actually, Stephen, until I saw the light when I met Ronald Reagan and I changed. But for goodness sake, they cannot pin down what the president is doing wrong. They just can't pin it down. And not to mention, the Democrats, they're anti-Israel. They're anything that the president does, they're going to go against. And what do you see happening now?
It's true. The person who's going to do that is Nancy Pelosi. I mean, Pelosi basically said, I am part of what she calls the resistance movement. So even if Trump does something that is good for the economy, like the tax cut, I mean, Joe, every single Democrat in Congress, every Democrat from New York in the Congress and in the Senate voted against the biggest tax cut for American families and businesses since Reagan. And you try to ask them to explain this was a tax cut for the rich. No, it wasn't.
I know.
It wasn't
I'm so sick of hearing that.
The average middle-class family in New York saved $2,500 a year for taxes.
Yeah. Well, your co-author, Art Laffer, says that sometimes divided government can be a good thing. Do you buy that?
I agree with them. on that. I think the best thing that ever happened to Trump in terms of his chances for reelection is Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. You saw, by the way, when he said, congratulations to Nancy Pelosi, I hope she's the next Speaker. He wants her to be the Speaker because she's probably the least popular person in the entire politician in America. And now Trump has a foil to run against. And so I think this sets him up very nicely for 2020. I think if the economy, Joe, is anywhere near as strong 2 years from now as it is today, Trump is going to win 40 states. He may even win New York, for goodness sakes.
Yeah. Well, listen, if they handle mishandling the snowstorms like they did, or the traffic that you're stuck in, Steve, it's the little things they forget about. Hey, is the president's criticism of the Fed raising interest rates warranted?
I find myself in agreement with Donald Trump on this. Now, look, I want inflation under control. That's the job of the Fed, is to, maintain a dollar that. Are you old enough to remember, Joe, the raging inflation in the 1970s when we had?
I'm old enough to remember everything, inflation. Steve. I'm like,
I think you're a little younger than me, but I remember I was in high school. Every time you went to the store, they were marking up the prices for everything. So we don't want runaway inflation. But Trump is right about this. That there's not a lot of inflation out there right now, and it's almost like the cliche, Joe, that the Fed wants to take the punch bowl away from the party just when it's getting boring. Why are they doing that?
Yeah.
I mean, we want higher wages, we want more growth, we want prosperity, and the Fed is afraid of those things. And Trump called them out, and liberals have been, how dare you, criticize these oracles on high at the Fed as if they're some kind of gods. They make mistakes all the time, and I think they made a mistake here. It's one of the reasons the stock market's been down. Have you noticed that? Ever since they raised the rates, the stock market's gone down.
And the president called that early on, before they raised the rates. He said that's going to be a problem.
He's pretty good. Joe, he's a pretty good economist for somebody who doesn't have, formal. He just has, people ask me, is he smart? I said, he's got New York street smarts. That's what and this guy understands how an economy works. That's why he's been so successful. He's the first businessman that we've had as president for a long, long, long time. And we replaced a community organizer with a businessman who knows how to grow a business.
And now you've praised Donald Trump for improving the regulatory state and allowing businesses to run wild. And I see it in my own life. I see business is just the corporate. You know what? You could tell by the construction in New York. You could see by when I go out on the road and I work. People are not afraid to loosen up now, Steve Moore. They're not. They're going to spend their money. But what do you say to those who are concerned about climate change? Here we go, and saying that removing these regulations will make greenhouse gas emissions worse. I have to ask you that question.
All right, Joe, are you ready for your quiz question for the day?
Okay.
Do you know it's not a tough one, but I bet a lot of your listeners will get this wrong. What nation of all the industrialized countries in the world last year, of all the 30 biggest nations, which country do you think reduced its carbon and greenhouse gas emissions the most?
Would that be the United States of America, Steve?
United States of America. Ding, 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 ding. That's right. Most Americans are shocked to hear that. How could that have happened? I mean, we pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord. We don't have a carbon tax. We don't have all these other policies that the sanctimonious Europeans and nations have. And the reason we've cut our emissions is we're using way more natural gas. Natural gas is a wonder fuel. I was just out in Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania last week. I mean, they've got so much natural gas out there. And natural gas is clean, efficient, cheap, made in America. It's everything you want in a fuel. By the way, the environmentalists are against natural gas, too. Did you know that? They hate natural gas, too. We're reducing our carbon emissions. We are doing everything in this country to reduce our contribution to global warming. It's these other countries that make these promises in these treaties, but as with every treaty, they never hold their end of the bargain.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey, Steve, you're right. Steve, now Steve's got this. Well, Steve Moore, Trumponomics, inside the America First plan to revive our economy. Can I ask you a question, too, man? And thanks for staying with us, and we'll let you go over in a second. But with China, and I know the tariffs, is the impetus, because we know and we love Peter Navarro and we love Curtis Ellis and all the folks working, within the Trump administration. Is this a military thing and I don't know that you could even talk about it, because you don't want to break confidences from the White House. But I know, and we followed from day one on this radio show, Steve Moore, how China is building up the military and wants to take over the world. I could say it just like that. Is the president aware of that first, and that's why he put the tariffs on afterwards? Is it because of the military buildup?
I think it's both a combination of being concerned about our economic situation, our economic security, and the national security. The fact is, you got it exactly right, Joe. I mean, China is building up their military in a very aggressive way. Many of their Asian neighbors are getting very nervous about
Scary,
China,
man.
Japan,
Scary.
Taiwan, India, all these countries. So it's a combination of both. And look, first of all, I do think that Trump's steel tariffs were a bad idea. And I told the president that. He's mad at me for not supporting that policy. But I love what he's doing about China. Finally, we have a president who's standing toe-to-toe with these jerks in Beijing who cheat, they steal, they're militaristic, they're mercantilist, they don't honor their agreements, and Trump is calling them out on it. And God bless the guy for doing it. It's about time.
Yeah, I agree completely what you said. It's scary. Before we let you go, Steve, too, a lot of the new Democrats elected to Congress are pushing Medicare for all. Why is that a bad idea, Steve Moore?
Because it's going to bankrupt the United States of America. It's a $30 trillion new entitlement program. Well, we can't even afford the entitlement programs we got now, Joe. Yeah. We're running these massive budget deficits, and they want to add another $30 trillion entitlement. Now, look, the way we're a rich country, Joe, we can cover everybody who's a citizen with insurance, and we can cover people who have pre-existing conditions. I have a niece who has epilepsy. She has a pre-existing condition. But we should not abandon the free enterprise system that allows for competition and choice, and that's what drives down costs in every other industry. Why can't we use that in healthcare?
You are the man. Stephen Moore, you got to check out the book, Trumponomics, Inside the America First Plan to Revive Our Economy. Just Google Steve Moore, please. Steve, you're great. Thank you for calling. And you're welcome in the studio anytime, man.
You know what? I'm going to get there because I've got a signed book for you sitting here right in my hand. So I'm going to make it over there soon. And don't forget, next time you're in Chicago, we're going to Wrigley Field.
Wrigley, you are so on, Steve. Thanks, my friend. God bless you, Steve. And thank you so much for taking the time. All right, man. Trumponomics. That's the name of the book, Trumponomics. You want to read that from Steve Moore. It's Piscopo in the morning. It's 19 minutes after 9 o'clock.